subscribe. This is Nate and it is raining, so I gotta get this video going quick. I just wanted to show you, a few of you that have been to the greenhouse, you've seen my setup for lowland carnivorous plants. It's a super easy setup and it can be incorporated into many other humidity loving plants. So I'm just going to show you how I set that up. The materials you're going to need for the base, I use 2-inch pots, but you can also use PVC cut. It doesn't matter what size. If you go with 2 or 3 inch, you won't need as many if you went with 1 inch. So, you know, also it dictates as to what size the tank you're gonna need. I like 40 breeders. I use them a lot. You can get them at Petco for 40 bucks plus tax during their $1 per gallon sale. So for the square footage of what you have in here, you know, it's nice. Granted, you sacrifice a little bit of height, but by the time the plants get up here, they should be ready to get reacclimated out into, say, a household conditions or into a larger tank. But I use 2-inch pots just because that's what I have on hand. For the initial layer, we're going to use egg crate. It is a light diffuser you can find at any of your big box stores. Maybe your local hardware store even carries it. It's roughly $17, and I cut this to fit. It'll sit down in here just like this, and there's no real rhyme or reason on how you can put it in. I always like to put it in to where the small bar at the front is facing forward. But this is, you cut it to fit as tight as possible, but it's all right if there's a little play. The next thing you're going to need is a barrier to help any substrate or the sphagnum moss we're going to use from falling down below. You can use 2 things. One is carbon fiber window mesh, that works really well, and the other is weed barrier. I have weed barrier on hand, so that's what I'm using. Now, as you can see, this weed barrier is huge compared to this tank, but that's all right. What I like to do is push down on the corners, get the front and back taken care of, and with this excess, I double fold and push down. Now you may see this a little bit, but you know, it's not very intrusive, so it's not going to really take away from, you know, the overall aesthetics. And also, if you want later on, as you can see down below, you can see all that. You can paint that with a black paint if you want, but honestly, I wouldn't. That'll help gauge when to fill this back up with water. We've got the weed barrier in. Now the next thing is sphagnum moss. One tip, if you want sphagnum to grow, like there will be sphagnum that'll end up seeding from this. It takes a while, you know, 6-8 months, sometimes sooner if you're lucky. You want to pre-soak it in distilled RO or rainwater. Currently, right now, I have it soaked in RO water, but the rain is helping me soak it even further. And all we're going to do is we're going to lay it in here. We want a decent layer, about 2 inches. I start on the edges, and you don't want to pack it. Excuse me. You don't want to pack it down. But you want to make sure as you're putting it in place that weed barrier or carbon fiber mesh stays in place. I am using some reused sphagnum. That's why I like the good quality sphagnum from New Zealand, the best grow stuff. You can find it on our website. We got 150 gram bales for $14.99. I can get several uses out of it unless I'm using it for like a permanent use, such as a vivarium, or excuse me, a terrarium topping. I'd say that's good. That was 2 bales at 150 grams a bale, just to give you a rough idea as to what 2 inches will cover on a floor system. You can kind of see a little bit of the plastic sticking out. It is pouring rain, so I'm trying to protect the camera as much as possible. I'm sorry about that. It'll just have to do. So now that we've got it set up, we're gonna need a top. The quickest, easiest top I found is the Sunlight double poly panels that you can find at Home Depot. Other places may have it. If you have a larger nursery store near you, they may have it as well. Unfortunately, where we are, the only place we're able to find it is at Home Depot. Well, all that I do is I cut a large back. I cut 2 pieces, a large back, which sits on here, and then a front. It's pretty sturdy. I mean, you're not gonna wanna go setting cinder blocks on it, but you know, it can take some weight. And that's it. It's that easy and that quick to set one of these up. I mean, I think I did this, man, I don't know, 5 minutes. If you're wanting to grow plants that really love humidity, you're gonna wanna keep this sealed. So you can cut a big single piece. Honestly, I find it easier to cut a big single piece and then cut it in half and shave off a little bit on both sides. That way it makes it easier to get in and out of. You don't want them super tight unless you put a handle on it, because they can be a pain in the butt to get out from the lid. But these panels work really well. Again, a lot of the plants we're growing don't need super intense light. A good LED lighting system works well. I use Barina light strips. I also use Night Crew Planet Plus. Both of them are relatively on the lower end when it comes to price range, but they grow plants and they work. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as to how to set up a quick terrarium for humidity loving plants.